This is Bronze and Modern Gods. Welcome. I am John, and that's Richard.
Hi, John.
I did not do that on purpose. 1 year, and I still don't have it right. That's right. It's our birthday today. Almost to the very day. Our very first episode was on April 11, 2020. And here we are on April 12th, 2021. 1 year old. How you feel, Richard? You look good for 1 year older.
I feel it's been a long year. A lot has really happened in this past 12 months. Think about it. Not only just in the comic book world, but just the world in general.
I'm exhausted. Before we get into it, I want to remind everybody, if this is your first time, and there's a lot of people joining us every week, follow us at Bronze and Modern Gods on Facebook and Instagram. Visit us at bronzeandmoderngods.com. Sign up for our email newsletter, and you'll get all sorts of stuff. Leave us a like, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. You know the deal. You know the deal by now. Right? You've watched YouTube videos before. I don't need to beg you every week. Every Monday at noon, we have a new live episode. Well, live-ish. It's recorded and edited, but we're alive. We have a live episode. How's that?
That's much better.
And it's our 1 year anniversary. And that's what we're pretty much going to talk about today. What's changed? What's new? What's different? Richard, you were saying that the world has changed. The collecting world, for sure. It's been just a crazy, monumental year.
Oh, absolutely. Who would have thought back just 1 year ago that we would be seeing the unbelievable prices that we're seeing on some of the key books that are out there today?
That leads us to our hot book of the week, which is Action Comics #1 from 1938. No, it's not an April Fool's joke. This is our hot book of the week, Richard.
Yeah, it's hot mainly because of a recent sale. Comic Connect announced that there was a private sale of an 8.5 graded Action #1. Action Comics #1 is the first appearance of Superman, and it could be. Yeah, you could say it's one of the defining books of the golden age. So an 8.5 graded comic sold this week for a record $3.25 million in a private sale. $3.25 million for a funny book. That is amazing.
You know, I didn't read the press release, but I have to wonder if that was that Nicolas Cage copy from a few years ago. Do you remember that? I don't know if you were still out of the collecting scene then. That Nicolas Cage had a huge auction, sold a whole bunch of his comic books. I was actually there for the Nicolas Cage comic book auction, and I bought a bunch of pre-code Marvel monster books that were from the Nicolas Cage collection.
Did Nick serve you iced tea or anything like that?
No, he wasn't there. I was looking for him or Lisa Marie. Neither one of them were there. But it was an Action Comics 1 that he had, and he kept in a manila envelope on the front seat of his car. There's like this infamous picture of it. I'll have to Google it.
Oh my goodness. Well, according to Comic Connect, this was a book that was initially purchased by the seller in 2018 for $2 million.
I wonder if that was it, because that was around that time.
Can you imagine that? Just if what is that, 3 years and turn around and make over $1 million profit for just basically sitting on a book.
If I'm trying to put together the lineage, I don't know if it's that particular copy, but this copy was stolen at one point, and they had to find it, and it came up. Yeah, if you're going to steal something, don't steal an Action Comics #1. Just a hint: they're pretty easy to track down.
Right. There aren't very many of them. The 3.25 million is the top sale. It beats out a 3.2 million sale of a 9.0 back in 2014.
Let's talk about this condition. 8.5, 9.0. How did they survive in these conditions?
It's got to be the environment that they're stored in. It's got to be an area that's dry, but not dry enough to completely make the pages brittle. And it's got to be in a consistent position. It can't be moving around and shifting location. So to me, it's sitting in a safe someplace, and it's been there for decades.
But who has that foresight in 1938, 1948, 1958 to put that book somewhere safe? Now, there's that other copy that was found in a wall when there was a contractor doing work on a house and found it behind some drywall. It was being used as like insulation. That's how funny books were treated back then.
No, you're absolutely right. You know, it's a modern occurrence that comic books are revered as they are now, especially these golden age classics. So it is amazing that a book can survive to a 9.0, which is what that's a very fine plus condition,
Yeah.
and it survived for 80 some odd years, and ends up on Nicolas Cage's front seat in a little envelope. What a turn of events that must be.
I think it was like, he bought it during breaks while recording Vampire's Kiss or something. Who knows?
God.
Guys are free. I love them. Our 1 year anniversary. We have to take a moment to talk about this for a second. What's been your favorite moment over the past year from this show?
Oh, from the show?
Yeah.
That's a good question. I think the most fun I've had recently is doing the reporting from the convention that I went to.
Mm-hmm.
That was just exciting because it was an opportunity to go out and socialize and look through funny books through long boxes. And, it was fun to share that experience with people.
I think mine was, and I really wish I had saved the raw footage. I don't have it, but it was when we were recording a show. We had Ali from Elite Comics 11 as a guest, and I had a nosebleed. And it was the worst nosebleed I think I've had since I was a kid, and it would not stop.
I'm surprised we got through that episode,
If you go back and look, you can see where I've edited it all out. There's like all these, like all of a sudden I'm here, then I'm here, then I'm here, then I'm here, because I kept having to stop and edit out me putting pressure on my nose. If there's any doubt that we're nerds because we do a comic book podcast, the fact that I'm a nerd with a nosebleed is the nerdiest nerd of all. So,
and what about the numerous times we've started recording? We thought we were recording, and we get 15 minutes into the episode, and then you realize you never hit the actual record button. So we have to restart.
I want to apologize to the following guests. Jamie from Southern California Comics, Steven from Minor Keys Comics. Those are just two of the people that come to mind that sat there patiently while we interviewed them. And then I realized 20 minutes into it that I failed to hit record, and we had to do it all over again. I've learned a lot this past year, Richard. I've learned a lot.
Yeah, I thank you so much, both of you. You definitely have. It's been a fun process. We were talking briefly before we started recording, and it's just amazing that we've been able to do this for a solid year now.
It's crazy. And just to go back down memory lane a bit, it started because you and I were working from home during this difficult time. We'll refer to it because the algorithm doesn't like other certain words. And we thought, let's start a comic, like everyone else, let's start a podcast, but specifically, let's start a comic book podcast. People ask us about the name all the time. The name came about because one thing I believed is if you're going to do a podcast, you can't please everyone. You can't just do comic books. It's got to have some sort of focus. So the original concept of this podcast was to focus on the Bronze Age. And then Richard knew so much about modern books that it was like, okay, we have to cover modern books too. And it was originally going to be called Bronze Gods, like a bronze god. It was a play on that. And then it became Bronze and Modern Gods. And I thought, you know what? I'm sort of attached to it. I'm not changing it. That's where we're at.
Yeah. The name definitely kind of grew on us, and I think it applies. We did try to focus on bronze and modern, but I noticed we slipped into like golden age books we just talked about, and silver age as well. It's kind of it really is kind of whatever zeitgeist, whatever we are interested in.
I also think that we had a definite plan in place, which was to be, I hate this, it's sort of a euphemism for old, but a more mature approach to collecting in comic books. And
crusty.
Crusty, decrepit. Try not to get caught up in all the hype. Try to look through things through our experiences and share and just be open with what we've learned, as opposed to give it all to me, and this book is hot because I've got 50 of them sitting in the back and I want to hype it up. We've never fallen into that trap.
Right.
We never will. And I'd like to think that's what people seem to gravitate to, because we started from the bottom and here we are at the top.
We've definitely talked about a wide variety of subjects, but I think we've always tried to look at it from a learning experience, not only for us, but for hopefully our audience, and then share those kinds of tidbits, those tricks that you learn only from experience, so that people don't have to go through some of the horrible things that we've had to deal with through collecting comic books.
And the condescension. I'm not a big fan of being condescending to new collectors and new people in the hobby, where they'll ask something like, I don't understand why this Fantastic Four #1 doesn't have a 10-cent stamp on it, or you moron, it's the Golden Comics reprint. No, that people don't know, and you got to be patient and willing to share that knowledge, and we are. And that brings us to one of our favorite segments, and that's viewer mail.
You've got mail.
All right, Richard, you've got the first one. What do you have?
I've got a viewer mail from Dollar Bin Dude. Thanks for the Area 88 love. Area 88 is a comic book that I recommended our last show. I have always liked that series, and will always save copies from dollar bins. You guys keep giving away all the good secrets, and there will be no good books to read out of the dollar bins. Keep up the good work. Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, this book is an easy dollar bin find, and you could find whole runs of this book. Like I mentioned, I found a near mint run on eBay for $40. And it's just a pleasure to read. If you're into aviation, if you're into history, you get to watch F4s fly against Soviet jets versus French jets, all kinds of really cool stuff. And it's definitely worth the $40 for the run. It's a good read compared to how difficult sometimes Japanese manga can be for an English speaker. So yeah, definitely, if you ever come across it, pick it up. You can't beat it for $1.
Do you have books that you save from the dollar bin every time you stumble across them? I do too.
Absolutely. My big one is American Flag #1. Yeah. Whenever I see that book, I just have to have it, because it's such a good Howard Chaykin series is so good, and it's I feel bad for seeing them languish in a stupid dollar bin. So I'll pick it up and put it into my box. Who knows? It may end up being something someday, but it's more for the rescue attempt than anything else.
I have a few. I always grab Marvel Bronze Age horror reprint titles, like Where Monsters Dwell and Where Creatures Roam. Every time I see them in a dollar bin, I gotta grab them. And Marvel Westerns, the same thing. But the big one that I always grab, is a book called The Trouble with Girls. Do you remember The Trouble with Girls?
I do. Yeah.
It was an independent black and white title that starred a secret agent named Lester Girls, who all he wanted to do was be a family man with a wife and kids and a white picket fence. But he was cursed with fantastic good looks, super agility, strength. And he kept having the most beautiful women on the planet throw themselves at him. And he hated this life.
That's right. Yeah, that's a good save. Absolutely.
It's a great book. Problem is, it's never going to be reprinted. Why is that? Because one of the co-writers of the book was found guilty for some really bad stuff. Google it. I don't want to say it here because it'll hit the algorithm, but he's in jail for a really long time for a really good reason. Wow. So it's a weird thing. Can you separate the artist from the art? It's tough, but the book was funny.
Yeah, that is tough, separating, a good story from whatever, trouble the particular creator, and I'm thinking of Dave Sim specifically.
Well, it's not Dave. I'll give you guys another hint. His Green Lantern run will never be collected either, or his Wonder Man run. So yeah, he was pretty prolific in the late 80s, early 90s. Too bad. But I have some viewer mail as well, and I actually have 3 pieces of viewer mail. First of all, from NM, I'm guessing that stands for Near Mint. Do we have the CGC return of this book yet. I don't see an update video in the video page. What are you talking about, NM? I'll tell you what they're talking about. Our most popular video on this channel is the comic book pressing 101 video that we did. This sucker is at 12,000 views. What? And it's kind of crazy. It shows you how I went through the process of taking a copy of Strange Tales 115, cracking it open from the case, pressing it, resubmitting it, and people are waiting to find out the results, including I'm going to do this bad. Ariosto Montesano. Have we said that name before?
I do not believe so.
Sorry, Ariosto, if I just completely butchered. I'm going to call you Ari. I'm wondering if you got this comic back. Wondering what grade it got. Great vid, by the way. Thank you. And Jovi Velasquez. Excellent video. Thank you. Trying to find the results video if you got a grade bump. I left you guys on a cliffhanger about 6 months ago, didn't I?
Yeah, it was 4 or 5 before you cracked and pressed it, right?
It was 4.5 off-white pages. It did come back as, drum roll, I can't do drums, 4.5, but white pages. Bummer, right? So it did have improved page quality, which came from the humidity chamber. So it isn't a white pager now. But if you go back and look at that video, there were the dimples along the spine, but there was a long diagonal crease. And I really think that long diagonal crease was just too much to overcome for this book. This is also a lesson on the subjectivity of grading. The first grader said it was a 4.5. We thought it was going to get a bump to 5.5. The second grader said, nope, it's a 4.5, even though I had pressed out many of the pressable defects. It still stayed 4.5. And I don't argue that, because that diagonal crease, what are you going to call a book, that's structurally okay in every other way, just about, but with a long diagonal crease that just, even if it's been pressed out, is still kind of present.
Yeah, you're right about the subjectivity of grading. It's overall grading is done by human beings, and human beings have different eyeballs, different concept of what determines. Even though they have guidelines that they follow, they apply those guidelines differently. So we always joke that a difference between a 9.6 and a 9.8 is the graders drive into work that day, and sometimes that might be, there's some truism to that. You can never automatically assume that you're going to get a grade bump, or you could never automatically assume you're going to get a certain grade. I never ever claimed that a book that I sell is going to be a 9.8, because you honestly just don't know.
Yeah, if you've ever been to any of our live sales on Instagram, you'll see that the most Richard and I will say it's a 9.6, 9.8. We're neither one of us are ever comfortable saying 9.8, a slam dunk, because you just don't know. You just don't know what's going to happen that morning when that guy comes into work and he just got into an argument with his significant other.
In the, let's say in the next 5 years, grading being turned over, at least primary, the initial grading, to AI. You have a series of cameras that apply a set of, because grading is just applying a set of rules to determine condition. So if you are able to have an application that could scan the comic and then look for certain telltale signs and then apply the rules that they use to do the grading, you could have consistency for a change in the grading process. So I'm sure CGC is looking at that, given they're being swamped for grading not only comics now, but also trading cards. There's rumors that there are literal pallets of trading cards being dropped off at some of these grading houses because of the rush on cards nowadays.
I don't know why they don't turn off the faucet. I don't know why they don't stop taking submissions. I mean, it's a financial hit. I get it, but they've got to turn it off at one point, or staff up. I know they've been hiring, but it just doesn't seem to end.
Yeah, I know they've been staffing up. I've been watching. They've got listings for job positions, and they're offering bonuses. If you start before June, you get a cash bonus.
Yeah, but you got to live in Sarasota. I mean, no wonder. Sorry, Florida. No wonder they're having problems. I mean, it was in Sarasota. So we are answering questions that we have let pile up over the last year. We have done many videos where we say, We're going to talk about this subject, and then we're going to follow up in a few months. That's what this week is about, all these follow-ups in our 1-year anniversary show. Another show we did was something we called the $100 Challenge. Richard, explain that to everybody.
The challenge was you have $100, pick a book that costs less than $100 average sale price on eBay, and take that book, consider it purchased, and then in 3 months come back and let's see what the value of that book. We're trying to have that value increase. So the person who had the highest increase in value was going to be the winner.
So we are almost at 3 months now. So we figured we'd check in, and I can go first. My book that I picked was Amazing Spider-Man number 49, the Bruce Timm Mary Jane Go-Go variant. And when I purchased it, it was selling for an average of $80 for a 9.8 in early February. Right now, in April, a 9.8 has just risen dramatically from anywhere from $86 to $100. Okay, it's gone up. It's holding steady, but I'm actually glad to see it's holding steady, especially for a variant B cover, because a lot of times these B covers just do not hold their value at all. People are still throwing them up on eBay, 9.8s at $120, $125 or best offer. And in fact, there are 2 live auctions as of today where they're being bid on, multiple bids. So this book still has some life to it.
I love that book. That cover is awesome. I'm a huge Bruce Timm fan, and he really does Mary Jane justice in that cover. So I see long-term value just in the Google art aspect of that title.
And what was your pick?
My pick was Mace Windu number 5. I'm going to say in air quotes, first appearance of Ahsoka Tano, because there are several books that seem to claim that throne. But this book is the one that the community has decided to put their weight with. So back when we started this, a raw book, a near mint raw, was going for a strong $80. So if you looked on eBay and you looked at the auction prices, they came up to be about $80 for a raw. Here in April, instead of a strong 80, it's more like a soft 80. It's still going for around $80, but you can find sales anywhere from $60 to $70. It's not as strong as it was back then, but I still think this is a great book to invest in. I think the reason why it's softened is because we're in between shows with Disney Plus, Star Wars show. So when the Boba Fett show comes out, or the next season of Mandalorian, or even more importantly, the first episode of the Ahsoka Tano show actually airs, we're going to see these books start going up again like gangbusters. So I'm still bullish on this. I think now is actually a good time to buy it, because you can get it for a softish figure. You still see listings on eBay for $150 though, because people are still expecting this book as Ahsoka Tano. I just think that people are focusing on, topics not Star Wars related because of the different Marvel properties that are getting attention, like Falcon the Winter Soldier, WandaVision, and Black Widow. So as soon as we get the Disney side of the Star Wars side of Disney to start producing new shows, I think these are going to go up.
Yeah, they've got a backlog of stuff. Because do you remember what our first episode focused on?
No, I don't.
The Eternals. Now,
wow.
Here we are a year later, still no trailer even for the Eternals.
That is unbelievable because of the situation we're in. Frankly, I am not excited at all about the Eternals. The longer we wait and the more time I have to think about how this movie could go, and how they could do it in a way that would actually make it a good Marvel movie, I'm drawn.
The Kirby fan in me is holding out hope that it's going to be good. So I'm still a little excited about it. We'll see. All right, moving on to more follow-ups. Our 2021 goals. We are 4 months ish into 2021. So let's check in and see if we've achieved any of our goals yet. Richard, what have you got?
Yeah, I've actually done really well. I have to say, I have sold some big books, and they use the profits from those sales to buy books that are on my list. Number one was Fantastic Four number 2. That was a really important book for me to get. It's the first appearance of the Skrulls.
When did you get that?
I did. I sold. I did a trade with one of our mutual friends. On I don't want to mention his name because I didn't clear it with him. Uh, did a trade with for my ASM 300. I got out of the trade cash and a Fantastic Four number 2, and one of my other books on my list, which is an X-Men 94 that was signed, is a 6.5 signed by Claremont.
Wow, excellent.
Yeah, so I got those 2 books on my list. The ASM 300 I'm going to miss, but it went to a good home, and I'm sure he's going to enjoy it. So I'm not as concerned about that. But yeah, so those are 2 books. So Fantastic Four number 2, First Skrulls. I think we're going to see some really important Skrull content come out here in the next year. So it was important to get that book, which is already an expensive book, before we get Meet the Skrulls or any of the other content. There's just the Secret Invasion, things like that. So got those. I'm on a Fantastic Four kick, so I also needed a Fantastic Four number 1, which looked at my bank account and it said, no, you're not getting an original one. So I did the next best thing, Fantastic Four number 1, the Golden Record reprint. I
was going to say you sold your house.
I found a really nice copy on eBay. It had one little problem. There was some chipping on the cover where it chipped off so you could see the white underneath. It's like the size of half a dime, not very big. $400. I couldn't pass it up. So
you remember before everything went kablooey last year, you were here at California Comic-Con and we saw a sealed copy of that with the record and everything at a dealer's booth, and we both passed it up.
Oh, don't get you started. I remember I saw a 9.2 Albedo number 2 that somebody was offering me, and I was at the time I was on a hunt for my Fantastic Four number 5, so I do have an excuse. That was the purpose, and I was sticking to it. But yeah, I wish I had gotten that Albedo.
I feel for you. I passed up so many big keys at that show because I was more excited about grabbing that rawhide kid with the terrible totem.
Oh, yeah, it was an interesting show. If we only knew now then what we know now.
It was a different time a year ago.
The other keys that I got, a key I didn't expect to get, which was you turned me on. There was an auction going on, and there was a Marvel Family Comics number 1, and it's a Golden Age book. It is the first appearance of Black Adam, and I am a huge Black Adam fan. I'm a huge fan of anti-heroes in general. Dr. Doom, Black Adam, Magneto. But, they're all characters, are complex characters, and I enjoy the complexity. So this is an expensive book, and I never really expected ever to come across a copy that I could afford. Well, the moons aligned and everything came up heads for me, and I won the auction. I had the book sent off to CGC because it was a raw book, and it was kind of a nerve-wracking moment because you never know about restoration. I was hoping to avoid that. Came back at 3.5. I think the book is better than that. And then
undergraded, 100% undergraded. I agree.
So at some point, I'll probably end up getting it cracked and pressed and try again. But I'm happy with it now. It's in my collection, and it's like I said, it wasn't something I ever expected to have, so it was never even on my list. And on the hunt still, I'm on the hunt for a good X-Men 101. I've got a copy, but I want a better one. I'm on the hunt for a Love and Rockets number 1, a 9.4 or better, which are rare as hen's teeth.
What's that?
Oh, that is a 9.0. I have a 9.0 currently. I am looking for 9. I would love to find a 9.8. There's only one 9.8 on the census.
Yeah, I think all of us want to find it.
So I'm hoping to come across that raw that is 9.8 potential, but that black cover is so hard. But you never know. Hope springs eternal.
Magazine size, storage issues. Yeah, that's going to be a tough one. Wow. You are so much better on your scorecard than I am because I'm like the dog in the movie Up, squirrel. I get so easily distracted. First of all, Tales of Suspense 59, first solo Captain America in the Silver Age. I got it. I got a really nice copy. I got a steal on it, honestly. I think the person who sold it to me really undergraded it. It's beautiful. It pressed out nicely. It's in Sarasota now with everyone else getting their $1,000 bonuses. The other book I am still looking for is my Yellow Claw #1. I have not seen one shake out of the tree since I put the word out. And thanks to everybody on Instagram for helping amplify that message. But man, nobody is letting it go. I did get a 3. I did get a #4. So I still need a Yellow Claw 1 and 2. And everybody's holding on to their Jimmy Woos. They're not giving them up. So that's a bummer. Flaming Carrot #1. No luck with a 9.8 yet. I had a real nail biter. It was so depressing. There was a complete run of Flaming Carrot, including the later Dark Horse issues on eBay, that sold for $136.
Wow.
Yeah. Guess what my top bid was? And I went to bed.
135.
131.65, because our advice is always do strange odd numbers that'll help your chances. And I woke up and I had lost by $5, so that was a heartbreaker. Captain America 217, first appearance of Wendell Vaughn, aka Marvel Man, aka Quasar. I got a 9.4. I'm up to a 9.4.
There should be a drinking game. Every time John says Quasar, you take a shot.
Still no 9.8 on this book yet. I cannot get a 9.8. I am not willing to pay the 9.8 prices that are being asked. I'm starting to think maybe I need to, because maybe that's why they're asking those prices, because it is a hard book. That black cover, again, picking everything up.
Yeah.
Along those lines, the Quasar deals Incredible Hulk 234, where he first calls himself Quasar. By the way, it's one panel. I just read the other day. It's like, wait a minute, he's in it for 2 panels, and in one panel, he's like, "Call me Quasar from now on." That's it.
Roll credits. That was it. Really?
No. Issue before, it's like a full team up. I have that. That's not a problem. But 234, I've got about a 9.2 raw. I haven't sent it in yet. I'm not going to bother to send one in until I have what I think is a firm 9.4 or better. So the hunt continues.
It's fun to have goals, because you feel a sense of accomplishment when you come across those books, but also just the hunt itself and opportunities that present themselves, like that Marvel family that just popped up and said, "Hey, I'm available," and being able to take it up on that offer. That's also fun in this hobby.
So I hope we answered a lot of the questions that we've been getting the past few weeks about all these outstanding things we've had going on in the show. And answering all these questions leads us to our big announcement for our 1-year anniversary show. It won't be a 1-year anniversary show without some sort of big announcement. Here it is. Thanks to the volume and the number of questions we get from you guys in the comment section on YouTube, DMs directly to us on Instagram. We get them emailed to us to our Gmail address, bronzeandmoderngods@gmail.com. We are now going to have 2 episodes of Bronze and Modern Gods a week. That's right. You get your Monday at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern episode as normal. But then we will have an additional viewer mail episode, a bonus episode, if you will, during the week. When during the week? That's up to us. We have day jobs, people. We've got stuff going on. So I hate to do this to you, but you really have to hit that notification bell at the bottom there on YouTube to let you know when a new episode goes live during the week. Sometimes it'll be Tuesday. Sometimes it'll be Thursday. It really depends on our workflow and when we have a chance to get together and do it real quick. But we will have a bonus episode starting this week.
Yeah, I'm excited. There's a lot of times when, in the course of the week, we answer or respond to comments, because I always respond to comments in YouTube. And I think the answers sometimes would benefit more than just the person who we're responding to. So this gives us an opportunity to to share this information and the conversation with the rest of the audience.
And in addition to answering viewer mail on this bonus episode, each week we will have a different special guest, a vendor, a YouTube personality, another comic collector, a person from the community come on and share with us their underrated book of the week. You know how we do underrated books of the week every week? Well, now it is other people's chances to tell us what book is flying under the radar. So again, if you have not subscribed, subscribe. If you're already subscribed, hit that notification bell so you know when our bonus episodes go live.
Absolutely.
All right, moving on to another regular segment. I don't have a segue. 2 weeks in a row. I don't have a proper way. So it's 1996. It's time for bleep, the 25-year rule. Oh, that's so lame. So lame.
Oh, you know what? We'll write you up a whole list of segues that
You guys start submitting segues in the comments, please, because I really need your help. All right. If you are new, the 25-year rule is where we roll back the clock 25 years to 1996. When nostalgia kicks in 25 years later, your childhood was then, your great times back in the 90s. You want to regain and recollect the things that you had back then. That's what the focus of this segment is about. And this week we are talking about Hitman #1. Richard, did you ever get into Hitman?
The video game I did. But no, not the comic, no.
Hitman was the story of Tommy Monaghan, a super-powered hitman who specialized in taking out supervillains and the supernatural. This is the start of his ongoing series by two creators I really do like, Garth Ennis and John McCrae. Now, Hitman first appeared in the Demon Annual #2 as part of those crossovers that always happened in the annuals those years, and they would always introduce new characters that kind of went on to do absolutely nothing. But in this case, Hitman stuck. His series ran for 60 issues, and to this day, he still is around the DC universe. He cameos in Batman here and there. Tommy Monaghan is still around, killing those supervillains and those supernatural goofballs that plague us to this day.
This sounds like a Constantine kind of ally. Have they ever had any issues together?
It was done totally tongue-in-cheek. It was not done seriously at all.
Okay.
Lots of humor, lots of dark humor. This is something that I'm sure our good friend Evan, our DC Comics correspondent, would be on here going, I loved Hitman. That was a great book. So next time we have Evan on, maybe he'll see this and pop in and let us know how great Hitman was. But now it is time for our underrated books of the week. Richard, what do you have?
I picked this week Star Wars X-Wing Rogue Squadron #1 from 1995.
All right. If we have to take a drink every time I say Quasar, we also have to take a drink every time you mention Star Wars.
This is true. This is true. I'm a big Star Wars fan. Just a huge Star Wars fan. I saw Star Wars in the theater back in 1977, and it changed my life. I could say that unequivocally. So I always favor Star Wars titles, and this one though is kind of a spec book. Now this is the story of the Rogue Squadron. It was written by Michael Stackpole. Anybody who's into sci-fi recognizes that name. He did a lot of Star Wars novels. He also did a lot of BattleTech novels. If you're into BattleTech, the Rogue Squadron was originally led by Luke Skywalker. And later on, it was led by Wedge Antilles. Now, if anybody who's a Star Wars fan knows the name Wedge Antilles, he is the most underrated character in the Star Wars universe. He survived the attack on the first Death Star. You know, he and like 6 other people. And then he survived an attack on the second Death Star, him and along with 6 other people. So he's
blessed.
Yes, he's blessed. They have never really focused on this character. They made sure he survived, but they have never actually put any emphasis on him. So the hope is that Rogue Squadron, which he was a part of, is going to focus on Wedge Antilles as the leader of the Rogue Squadron, Rogue leader, and it's going to talk about him leading the squadron, fighting the remnants of the Empire. So that's what I'm hoping is going to happen with this book. The interesting thing is, this is a book. This is Rogue Squadron is the title of the book, and it was acknowledged as a spec book for the Rogue Squadron TV show that Disney is doing later this year. but it really hasn't gotten much love. You can still buy copies of this book for $25, and good copies of this book. And this is a copy of a book based on a known property that Disney is coming out with, and you can get it for $25. Ahsoka Tano happens to mention Thrawn on the Mandalorian, and Heir to the Empire goes from a $200 books to a $1,200 book overnight. It's interesting how people pick what they want to favor in terms of purchases. This book has still gotten cheap, like I said, $25 for raw. 9.8s are creeping up though. The last sale was $250, so hopefully people are starting to realize this is an opportunity spec. So to me, if you come across a reasonable copy for $25, it's a good buy. And once we see that first trailer for the Rogue Squadron, is not the time to be buying this book. Now is the time to be buying it, where people just are not paying attention to it.
That is a good one. Mine is something that I think is really underrated, really has flown under the radar. And when you hear why, I'm sure you, as a big fan of these characters, will agree with me. That is Marvel Team Up 100. This was a double-sized anniversary issue by Chris Claremont and Frank Miller. Featured Fantastic Four and Spider-Man teaming up.
Yeah, you won me when you say Chris Claremont and Frank Miller right there. That's all you had to say.
But wait, there's more. It's also the first appearance of Karma from the New Mutants, which, minor mutant character, big deal, whatever. But the bonus backup story is something else too. It tells the first meeting of T'Challa, the Black Panther, and Storm. Their first meeting is in this book, and that story is by Claremont and John Byrne.
Oh, wow. That is amazing.
Chris Claremont, Frank Miller, John Byrne, Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, Black Panther, Storm. Crazy, right?
It is crazy, considering that Black Panther and Storm get married later, so that there is that hookup between the two of them. That's amazing. You got all those characters and all those the writers and artists. That is impressive.
But wait, there's more. The 90-day average for a CGC 9.8 is $196. That's up from last year, where it was about $135. So it's seeing some growth. And we've had a recent sale in the past week or so for $250. So if this is something you want, it's probably time to jump on it now. I was thinking about books for this week, and I remember buying this as a kid. This was exciting. It was a double-sized issue. Marvel Team Up was hitting number 100. Wow, big deal. And I saw that Frank Miller cover. It's just super cool. And I remember that Storm and Black Panther story. And I remember to this day buying that book off the rack at Lawson's.
Oh, Lawson's.
Or Dairy Mart, one of the two.
This is an interesting book. I wonder how it would grow in significance if we hadn't had the tragic passing of the Black Panther.
Yeah, Chadwick Boseman. It also, if you have not watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier yet, I was kind of surprised. Spoilers ahoy, skip ahead. I was kind of surprised that we had a reference to Shuri, but no Shuri.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's
Just Google the actress's name and you'll see why Richard and I are super hesitant to talk about this.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Let's just say Wakanda is going to play a bigger role than just the next the Black Panther 2 movie.
Hey, like John Walker would say, don't lose your head over it. And on that note, we're going to say goodbye for now. Remember, you're going to see us later this week for our first bonus episode ever. Thank you, every single one of you. If you've watched our videos once, twice, every week, we don't care. We love every single one of you. We are so humbled and just astounded by the reaction. And we thank all of you for being on this journey with us.
Absolutely. And if you see anything that you think you want to see in addition to what we do, please drop us a note. And we are always open to suggestions and criticism.
And we will see you on our bonus episode later this week.
Yeah, stay safe, everybody.